Welcome to the Bad Beat Podcast. I'm your host, Robert Eisenstadt, and today we got a long overdue show that we've been trying to get scheduled for a long time. What are you guys laughing at? We're already starting this.
Jumped right into that.
That's what you got to do. Anyways, so today we are going to do a show on co-parenting and how we all handle co-parenting. Today, to my left, I have my wife, Sierra Eisenstadt. Right across from her, we have my ex, Faith Hollen. Faith Hollen. It's close. I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. My bad. Faith Hollen, and then her husband, Matt Hollen. Thank you guys so much for agreeing to jump on the show with us.
It did take a little while.
Yeah, no, it did.
Pulling.
And some scheduling difficulties, I think, more than anything.
I think
it was a mix of both for sure.
Yeah,
and I'll take the blame for that.
That's okay. And, the babysitter. Shout out to Gianna. Thank you for watching our baby girl while we're able to do this. So we're gonna dive into a little bit of everything, and basically how we got to where we are. Obviously, we have an amazing co-parenting life, which we're very blessed to have. We're all on the same page with trying to raise this beautiful girl. So basically, when I was 20 years old, I definitely remember that, me and Faith got together, and we were living together, and my father had passed away in 2014, which Faith was living with us, and she had... When did you get in your car accident?
I got in my car accident in 2013.
Really? There was that? Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. I didn't know it was that close.
Yeah, so I got hit in 2013, and then we had met, really shortly after I gotten in the car accident.
So in 2013, Faith was hit head on with her ex and her ex's son. Mm-hmm. A drunk driver was trying to commit suicide, and very lucky to even be here. Have you seen pictures of the truck?
I've heard the story a few times, and every time I hear the story, it's
crazy.
Yeah, it's the events that took place after were just very divine. And it's a very chilling story to hear. Then hearing the recovery process, it's even more intense.
What did you break? You ruptured your L5S1?
So I broke my back. I broke my sacrum, which is the bottom half of your spine. It's where your tailbone is the end of it. I shattered my pelvis. I collapsed my left lung. I broke all the ribs on my left side. I dislocated my shoulder twice, and I had a blood clot in the lower half part of my brain.
Crazy.
So
I didn't know. I mean, I knew you before, and I didn't know it was that previous before we had gotten together. But anyways, so we got together. She had gotten in that car accident. She was going through a lawsuit. She was living with me at my father's house, and if you guys have watched the previous show about my story, you guys will know basically how that kind of went about. I had went to work and got a phone call, called Faith and said, "Hey, is my dad there?" You had left and didn't remember, so you went back.
Yeah.
And found my father unresponsive. So Faith is actually the one who found my father when he passed away. And it was kind of like not a downhill battle from there, but there was a lot of struggles, mainly.
A lot of obstacles from there.
Yeah, dude, I mean.
We had separated after your dad died.
Yeah, right, shortly after.
About 3 months after your dad had died, we broke up, and we were not together for 4 months, I think.
That I didn't know.
Yeah. We had separated, and then we had gotten back together, and that's kind of when, we took the business and everything, and,
We got kicked out of the house, which we had this conversation in my kitchen. I don't think you were at my house this day, but she came over to drop Everly off, and we were in my kitchen. I totally forgot. It was in the middle of summer. I was getting kicked out of my dad's house, and there was no air conditioning. Dude, there was fucking cockroaches everywhere. It was horrible. It was a horrible experience, and my mom came into town and freaked out on us because we were throwing all the papers away, and she was like, "Oh my God, where's my shit?"
All my paperwork.
Yeah. So I obviously got some life insurance money from my father passing away. She got some insurance money from the accident, which was well deserved. We decided to put some money into the business, and basically we tried to do what we thought was best, and we ended up having our beautiful daughter Everly, which is now 5 years old. And
every bit
of
5 years old. Hold on now. I tell people all the time, like my bosses, I've told them that because they ask about her, and they're like, "How is she doing?" I was like, I say this: she's 5 going on 15.
Dude,
Yeah.
I mean,
for real.
Yeah.
it blows
It's
my
rough.
mind.
Sassy,
It
but
blows. She's every bit of sass.
she's so smart though.
She is,
it's
yeah.
Crazy.
Well, that's
I
what's
say that
dangerous.
she is intelligent.
All the sass and all the smartness mixed in one.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a mix of both of them. Honestly, we'll just keep blaming them.
How? There's no way.
I mean, I'm not sassy in the least. I mean, I know that for sure.
I've never seen you be sassy. I'm on your side with that.
I've always seen you so calm
Yeah.
and just
Calm
mellow
and collected.
and
Ooze, fa-
like anger management.
So basically, we ended up having our daughter. There was a lot of struggles throughout all of that with, being new parents. We were extremely young, and trying to get a business off the ground. And basically, we were fighting a lot due to the child and the business, and just trying to start this entire new life that we basically had no idea how to conquer, which most people run into that issue. And then
I think a lot of the hard part was our business was still so new that we weren't established almost at all. Like, we were still making pennies. Like, I remember having to literally, just pay the rent, pay the utilities, pay everything, because the business was, making $0
Yeah.
at the time. I literally was like, we're just going to pay it out of my settlement and keep paying it until the business can make something.
I remember we had to borrow money from your dad at one point.
So in Auntie Anne,
yeah,
it was a
bad.
struggle. And so I think that was even harder because Robert's out all night working, doing whatever we could get. Because at that time, we only had one contract, which was the gas stations.
Yeah.
We had one thing, just one. And I was at home with Everly 24/7. And doing the business side of, trying to get more business, call people with a newborn. So it was 2 brand new ventures at the same time. So it just hit us head on, for sure.
It was
Yeah, so
I still had a lot of guilt from that.
just to clear it up, you guys had just started the business when you had Everly, or
No,
what
it
was
was
that
No,
timeline?
we started the business in 2015.
August 4th, 2015.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then-
that's right.
Ev was
And then
born in
Everly was
17.
born in 2017.
Oh, okay.
It took years.
So it's still freshly.
So
no, I know, but
our
I was
first-
just trying to see how
Our
close they were.
first year was
47,000.
a joke. I mean, it was.
I'm
it
just
was.
saying,
It
like, dude,
was.
that's
It.
gross. It was so.
I mean, it was
freaking hard.
from scratch business though. Usually they take 3 to 5 years to even turn a profit of any kind.
For sure.
Anyways, the business was. It was a huge struggle, and there was a lot of struggles between the both of us. And the reason I'm going over this is because it's a really key to how we got to where we are, right? There was 2 completely separate perspectives of what I was doing versus what you were doing, and it took me a long time to realize, and we've had conversations about this. It took me a long time to realize a lot of the shit that I lacked of damn, dude, it's hard to be a stay-at-home parent. It's freaking hard. Even the days now, I mean, we could all attest to this. The days that you got to stay home with the kid, she's like
one day off school and you're just like, oh my God.
She's running laps around us, right?
Yeah.
And I had no idea. So that's definitely a huge regret I have in my life. Anyways, I wish I could have done more. Or I wish I would have. I could have. I wish I would have.
Well, let me just say this. I don't want to end it like, move on to another topic with that ending. But I will say that one thing that this woman has told me about you, when we very first met is how much you were willing to grind. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that, she has applauded you for since we first met, is how hard you worked. So
yeah,
I just wanted to.
There would be days where Robert would come home and he was just done. I'm gonna cry, of course, but
don't do that.
I know. He still would take the time, if it were, sitting on the couch with Everly for a few minutes or whatever it may be, like, he still did it, even at, like, moments where, like, I remember him breaking down, he would just, like, make face and, like, go through it for Everly. And he did do that. And whether me and him, it wasn't great, the Everly aspect of it is he always put whatever foot forward he had to make sure that she was recognized, I guess. So
I just wanted to say that because we all have things in our past that we look back on.
Where are the tissues, guys? That's the real question.
I don't think we have any, to be honest. We do, just not in
toilet
here.
paper.
I'm sorry. I didn't think it was going to get this emotional.
Well, we're talking about family, dude.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know. I don't know. I guess I didn't know.
Yeah.
Should have prepared better.
That's why I was so nervous, because you know what? I even know that I am an emotional guy. Sometimes I don't like to be, but I get that from my father. My father has always kind of taught me that it's all right to feel things.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, it is okay. I remember the first time, like, I really saw him cry, because, he loved me. You know what I'm saying? It's that type of love that carries kids into, oh my God, like, and I'm like, this is okay.
Yeah.
It's okay, because that's what love is.
Absolutely.
Right? So
just overabundance of passion.
Yeah. But anyways, I said what I said about, you being a grinder and a hard worker, because we all have things that we look back on and like, damn, or I don't know, language is.
No, you say whatever you want.
Yeah, this is Robert.
Well, whatever, I don't know.
You can say and do whatever the hell you want.
But, we all look back and we're like, damn, dude, I dropped the ball on that one. But, I would say that most of us, the old saying, we're all our own worst critic, is obviously true. But you need to take the good with the bad.
Absolutely.
Right? Because it's all about balance. And that's what I think, the majority of life should be about, is balance. So can't forget the good stuff you did either.
No, I know. It's just, and I believe everything happens for a reason, right? Like, I wholeheartedly believe that. And, I'm thankful that we're all sitting in this room today, and it's just one of those things that is like constantly, not constantly reminded, but it's definitely constantly thought of. I mean, even today, I'm sure you guys probably go through it, is like, man, am I being the best parent that I could be?
Every day.
Every day.
Right.
Every day.
Right.
Day.
So when I think about, okay, am I being the best parent that I could be for my daughter? I consistently go back to like, okay, what things have I done, positive and negative? And do the pros outweigh the cons? That's just what I go through. And sometimes I end up always going back to, I was trying to provide, and I was trying to do everything I could, and I wasn't around enough. And then I had a very bad lack of communication. I didn't know how to communicate at all. We would get in an argument. I would run away. Like, all of these things that I had to go through that, unfortunately, I'm sorry that you had to teach me, but that's what happened. You know what I mean? Like, and obviously there's been lessons taught all around this table. You know what I mean? But to try and stay on track a little bit,
I think you guys both went through a lot throughout that time, though, but it helped you both learn, like, you a little bit more about your business, you a little bit, like, how much you grew as a mom throughout that time, you know, just, like, you guys probably developed so much, even though you were struggling and,
I think
had the struggles.
We developed the wrong way.
Yeah.
We developed, like, a hate.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Between me and you.
Oh, yeah.
Like, our development, personally, it was great. Like, I had to, like, pick myself up off the floor, because I was going through postpartum.
Yeah.
And, it was terrible for me. Like, I remember leaving, and I was sitting on the floor, like, pulling my hair. And Robert was like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, I don't know. And I remember going out and sitting in the boat. And Robert, like, couldn't find me. And I was, like, on the side of the house just sitting in the boat. And he called my dad, and my dad had to, like, come and, like, find me. And when he did, he was like, "What's going on?" I was like, "I'm going through something, and I don't know what to do."
Yeah.
And I think it was a good eye-opener for Robert, because it did kind of bring him in again to a point where he was, like, more present and, but I think at first the learning curve definitely pushed us both into, like, a harder part than we got to, like, the good part.
Yeah. And I mean, you guys were still pretty young, right? So, like, a lot of the lessons you learned between, like, communication.
I don't think I was young. I think Robert was young.
You were a cougar.
I was already, I was 25, almost 26.
I mean, that's still young, though, to have, like, a fresh kid and, like, business.
I mean, no, not really. I think 25 is, like, a normal age to have a baby.
I mean, I'm 24, and I can get dressed in the morning. I can, like, pack up lunch. I'm still struggling myself.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's just a lot, because postpartum is huge, and, like, there's more and more awareness about it, but you really don't know until you go through it, right?
And I think for Robert, for him, it wasn't something he knew.
Well, it's hard, right? Like, because anytime anybody is dealing with something, like, let's say, let's literally just take the postpartum depression, right? I didn't know what that was like because I had never gone through it before.
If y'all have noticed, you two were talking about it. Robert and I are just kind of sitting here looking at each other, nodding our head.
Like,
Neither of us will ever know what that's like, so.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I definitely didn't know what to do back then. I was like, I mean, I was definitely still young. Yeah. But I didn't even know what the fuck postpartum depression was. I was just like, okay, she's just depressed. Like, I didn't even really know what depression was back then. And that's all a part of growth. But
yeah, for sure.
Man, it's like, how'd you even get over that? Like,
yeah, walk us through the steps.
Some days I think I'm still not over it.
I mean, I'm just saying.
It took, honestly, like, putting myself, and I would say shout out to Jordan Luby. She probably got me through it. Betancourt now, yeah. She, I would say she probably got me through it, for sure. Jordan would come over, and I remember even when I was pregnant, like, I was already depressed. I was, like, just changing, and I wasn't ready for it. It happened accidentally. Yeah. It wasn't a planned pregnancy. No one was like, all right, we're going to have a kid. Let's try to do this. Like, this is our next step. It wasn't that way. Yeah. So I think that was hard because it was just all changing to me so fast. And to Robert, in my mind, like, nothing was really changing for him yet. And so, like, it started then, and it just, like, continued on. And I know, like, Jordan would come over and just, like, sit with me.
Yeah, just having that companionship.
And, yeah, it was literally just having a companion that, like, it changed so much for me, and she would talk to me, and, she would make me get out of the house. She would walk with me, and, like, it changed so much for me, just having that, like, person there. And, like...
Do we need to stop and go get a box of tissues?
No,
damn it,
it's obviously, made me cry. It's, like, a huge regret, because I wanted that to be Robert, and in his mind, he was doing what was best for our family. But in my mind, I guess I needed more of him in that moment. And it was hard because we didn't have good communication. We were young. We were new parents. We had a new business. Like, there were so many things stacked against us that we weren't able to work together to figure out the problems. It just made us more of enemies over and over again. So
We were constantly working against each other, which
always
we both thought at the time
we were helping each other.
We were trying to do what was best,
yeah.
But there was just no communication.
Yeah. But that's how. I mean, just companionship and, you know, it's just one of those things you have to, like, continuously remind yourself. Even when you're depressed, it's the same thing. Like, you know, you have to continuously remind yourself that, like, sometimes your thoughts are against you and you have to get out of your head.
Yeah.
And that's how it was, you know?
For sure.
The gym.
But
the gym?
Dude, it's like the lifesaver, right?
Dude, that's like this is so cliche, and I hate that I'm saying this, but it's like, you know what? I'm going to think of a different term, all right? That's like my...
Your release.
It's my release. It's my therapy. You know what I mean? Like, not to get super deep, but you know, I'm a former college football player, and obviously, you know, I'm out of the game. I've been out of the game for a long time now, and it's lifting weights is what kind of keeps me, you know, motivated, because it still like ties me to the game in some way, because I still train, you know. What I'm training for, you know what I mean, is really nothing, but you know, it helps. It helps a lot. And I know that she can, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's releasing those endorphins.
It is, you know, and she can tell, you know, on days where I don't make it to the gym or whatever, there's a difference. I would hate to admit that, but there is a difference, you know?
Yeah.
So that was kind of a bunny trail there, but,
Dude, these thoughts just like pop in my head.
I know.
Yeah.
So you guys had all the struggles of the business.
Yeah, we had all the struggles of the business. Basically, we had moved out of my dad's house, moved into her dad's house.
No, we moved into Lemon Gold first.
Moved into Lemon Gold. That's where we had everything.
Yeah. Then we moved to my dad's.
One of the 97 houses.
Yeah. So then we moved to my dad's, and
I have a horrible fucking memory.
So we moved to my dad's. We were running the business out of my dad's.
No, out of Lemon Gold.
No. We already left Lemon Gold. We're at my dad's now.
Didn't we go to your dad's then, Lemon Gold?
No.
Just, it doesn't matter.
We went to Lemon Gold then my dad's, because I never left my dad's.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
And
all
you did.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Perfect. So basically, you want to just tell it? I got a horrible fucking memory.
We had moved to my dad's. We were running the business out of there.
We split up.
Yeah. We split up. And so I had Everly through the week, because I was a stay-at-home mom still, because she was young. Everly was just about 1 year old.
Yeah.
When we split up.
Yep.
She was probably about 8 months, 9 months maybe. And so I was with her during the week, and then we switched off every other weekend. And during that time, I would say it was probably like the most volatile part of me and Robert's relationship.
Why do you say that?
I just think that we both had different point of views, and I thought I was doing what was best for Everly because she was with me during the week. He was working nights, and he was single, obviously. So there wasn't a Sierra that we have now to take care of Everly at night, you know. So Everly was staying with me during the week, so Robert was working, and then every other weekend he would get her.
Which, at that time, there's a lot of fights because I didn't understand what you were trying to do.
Yeah, that's why I said.
I understand now, but I mean, there were so many fights because...
And we still had the business together.
And we still had the business together.
Yeah.
I was like, why won't you... Because in my eyes, you're like keeping her from me. I'm like, why won't you let me see my kid? I want to be with my daughter, whatever it is. And it was like a never-ending battle between us. But I mean, what she was really trying to do was, you know, keep her daughter out of a work environment. It would be like bringing her here all day, every day. You know what I mean? Right. It didn't make sense. I wouldn't be able to get work done.
Not even a year old.
Yeah, not even a year old. And so basically, for the first, that was for at least like 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I only had her every other weekend.
Mm-hmm. Well, even in the beginning of our relationship.
No.
Yeah.
It was only every weekend?
Because I remember it's only like
it had
every
changed.
Other weekend.
It had changed once you and Sierra, had started dating, because then that's when we did that stupid, like, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we switched Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for whoever's weekend. It was like,
so odd.
Well, hold on. We got to back up a little bit, though.
Oh, okay. All right.
We got to back up a little bit because I had moved out of her dad's house, and then I was living out of the toy hauler for a few months. That was like super freaking hard for me because the weekends I did have Ev, it was like I was bringing her back to a trailer. I'm fucking working my ass off trying to do like everything I can. Just feeling like a complete fucking failure. I just lost my family. I'm fucking living in a trailer park. Like, dude, it was so hard.
Yeah.
And well, actually, I was living on John's couch at first. Then I moved in the trailer park. And then...
Well, and I think that's what initially had started the whole weekends on, weekends off. Is because you were at John's.
I didn't have a place to live.
You didn't have a stable place.
You had nowhere. And I was like, listen, I don't want this 1-year-old sleeping on a couch. Like, she has a stable environment here. Her bed's here. Everything's here. Like, you can have her every other weekend. If you have things going on during the week, you were able to take her. Not that, like, you were able to take her, but, like, you know, same thing it is now. If things happen during the week, you're like, hey, can I take Ev for the night? 100%.
Yep.
You know, that's how it started becoming slowly with her, at least. Not with us, but like with that situation.
So my friend Laura found me a house, obviously like right next to Laura and Jared's house. And then we went to IKEA. Laura helped me decorate the whole house. We picked out a bed for her, all this stuff, you know. She went and got me like picture frames. Like, dude, like you walked into my house, you could definitely fucking tell like a girl.
A woman decorated.
A woman decorated.
I said that when I first walked in.
I said the same thing. When I walked in, I was like, who decorated your house?
Is that the home that I first met you in?
No.
This
Right?
was
Which one?
Like that small little square of
the
a
wagon
house.
wheel.
Oh, no, the rocking
big
horse house.
house.
That was a sick house.
Okay, yeah, it was a nice house.
But no. This was like 1,000 square foot house, total fucking bachelor pad. Like, except, you know, we have my daughter's Minnie Mouse room.
The
set
interior
up.
decor.
But it literally looked like a 20-year-old girl had set up the entire house.
Well, I just remember first walking in there because obviously I knew you guys were together beforehand.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Well,
oh, I wonder if she lived here with him. Like,
so she did.
know?
She did. So I moved into this house, and I don't remember exactly why or what. I think we both came to some realizations.
I know exactly
we were like,
what happened.
all I remember is
Justice's friend had passed away in California, and you had Everly that weekend. And you had texted me, and you were like, what's going on? And because I texted you, I was like, we're turning around because I was supposed to get Everly.
Yeah, I remember that.
And you were like, what's going on? And I was like, I got to be here for Justice. Like, his friend had gotten sucked into, like, what they thought was a tide pool, but it wasn't in Laguna Beach. It was a hole, and it was a tunnel under the rocks. And he got sucked in, and Justice was about 10 feet away from him. And so me and my mom had to turn around and go back, but I was texting Robert because I was supposed to get Everly. And so we had decided that we were going to try again.
We were going to give it another shot. She ended up moving into the house, and we just continued to have disagreements about, honestly, the work-life, housewife thing. Not housewife thing, but like... You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like we just had different perspectives on what we wanted.
I think we both just thought the job we were doing was harder than the job the other person was doing.
Agreed.
So you're always comparing.
We were
always
constantly comparing. We were constantly like we were working against each other instead of with each other. But if that did not happen, if we did not try that one more time, if she did not move back in, this would not be what it is today.
No.
So I am extremely, because before then we were just fighting. It was fighting about the kid, fighting about the business, fighting about every little fucking thing. Yeah. And and after she had moved back in and we tried one more time, we had both agreed, hey, we're fighting in front of the kid. This isn't good. This isn't healthy. I think we both basically sat down as adults and said, hey, I think it's best if we separate. Like, let's do what we can. And then, I still only got week on or every other weekend, I guess.
Yeah,
I think so.
It was
when we
for
first
a
got
while.
together.
Yeah.
But it was the same thing. Like, you were just working so much.
Yeah, I was working so
I mean,
much.
from what I know, I don't know, obviously, but, you know, and like you guys trying again and moving back in, you know, that probably gave you both closure, because you could have always wondered in the back of your head, oh, if we would have sat there and talked things through. And that probably just gave you guys both like, okay, all the same problems are still there. Yeah. We're still not fixing this.
Well, and that's what I tell people
kinda...
every time they ask. I say, honestly, this dynamic will never work unless you accept the fact that you can be happy for that person without you being in the picture. Because that's what we had to do. In that moment, we both sat down and we said, this isn't working, but Everly's important, and so we have to work together to do that. Yeah. Whether we're in the picture for each other or not, obviously for us it was a not.
Yeah.
But you can't have a healthy co-parenting dynamic when you're still trying to fight to get back together with the other person. That's not healthy. It's not. It's never going to work that way. And that's what I always tell people. But the first step is that.
Ever since then, it's been all about the kid.
Yeah. That's what it has to be about. To have a healthy co-parenting dynamic, it has to just be about the children. It can't, or the kid or kids, whatever. It can't be about you and the other person anymore, because that person is going to go out and meet someone else. And for you to be able to actually like connect with that other person, you can't be sitting there trying to sabotage the one thing they love. Yeah. You can't. It won't work.
The very first question that I want to get into is for both of you guys, because I remember bringing you to my house for the first time. And it's because I was having a barbecue. We had already been dating or whatever. Yeah. But I was having a barbecue at my house, and I was inviting a bunch of people over, and I was like, well, this is stupid. Like, why can't I invite her? Like,
well, it's just because I hadn't met Everly at that time.
And it had been like, what, 2-3 months maybe?
No. It was like,
really?
It was like a month and a half before I moved in. So it was probably like a month and a half.
Okay, well, it was like a month. I'm fucking horrible with these timelines. So it was like a month, and I was like, oh, why shouldn't, whatever. So you ended up meeting her. But how did you feel when, one, you found out I was dating another person, and two, that Everly was going to start being around another, not mother figure, but another woman in her life?
So obviously I feel like a hypocrite now, because I remember when you had first asked me, I was like, no, like, I haven't met this person, no. But then when I met Matt for the first time, Everly was there, and I literally had met him for the first time.
That's true.
At a barbecue at my dad's with Everly. And I remember I asked Tiffany, I was like, what if he's weird? And she goes, I'll kick him out. I'll make him want to leave. And I was like, all right, like, my dad's here, True's here, Tiffany's here, Nick's here. Like, she's safe. It's not like we're all going out to dinner, us three. Right. But I remember for sure at first I was like, well, I haven't met this person. Like, I don't.
You won't hurt my feelings. You're good.
The in-between of.
This is for other people going through this. Yeah. So it's like.
The in-between of me and Robert breaking up to Sierra, there were some doozies, I would have to say.
Yeah.
There were some doozies in there, so...
You're like, great, now someone wants to meet Ev.
That was, like, my train of thought, is
this just another girl, or...
This...
Which is a fair question
and
in anybody's mind.
Not that there were, like, 20 girls. There was, like, maybe one or two. You know, but no, there were. I think at least like, I know of. At least I know of. I think there was one or two girls in between, like me and him to you, and so when he had initially told me, I was like, I don't know this person. Like I don't, and he had told me your age, and I was like, bro, I could be this girl's older sister. Like, she's the same age as my youngest brother.
How old were you when we got together? 20, right?
20.
Yeah. Or wait. Yeah, 20.
Yeah.
No? Yeah,
no.
20.
I was 20.
Yeah, she was 20.
No,
they turned 21 with.
Yeah, she was 20. She was 20, and I was 25.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I just at the time I was like, she's the same age as my youngest brother, and so I was like, dude, like, no, no, I don't know this person. And then after, obviously, you sit down and you're like, well, I can't really like dictate because I'm not like it's his choice, essentially.
I mean, there was fights between that too, though.
For sure, and looking back now, like I have to trust, and I go through this a lot still. I have to trust your judgment that you're going to do what's best for Everly. I have to trust Sierra's judgment, just like you have to trust Matt's. And I think that was one of the biggest things is.
What do you think was able to give you, like, you say it so easily because we've been going through this, right?
Are you trying to ask like what gave her peace of mind in the end?
Like, no. What gave you the ability to be able to tell yourself like, okay, I need to be able to trust these people. Well, obviously, you had to trust me no matter what. I'm her dad, but I'm saying, what gave you the ability to be like, okay, there's a new woman in my daughter's life.
I had to remember at one point, I trusted you with my life. I loved you, and you were a part of my life just as much as you bringing this new person. And I had to trust your judgment that if this was something you wanted to move forward with, you putting Everly in the situation was going to be something that was safe for her. You weren't going to put her in a situation around someone that was a drug addict or an alcoholic or had been like would steal or whatever. Right. You weren't going to put her in a situation around someone that was bad for her to be around. And I had to trust that because I had to remember at one point, I trust your opinion.
And what was it like for you?
Oh, man. It was rough. I mean, it definitely made it, again, I was 20, so meeting someone, me, I was racing dirt bikes, wasn't tied to anything. For work, I literally traveled, so coming in and meeting someone, which was totally like, we didn't really know each other that well, anything, and then the first time we had a date, we were just inseparable from then on.
Robert so just slid in those DMs.
Oh, man. Actually, it's the other way around.
You know that story?
I don't know that.
We're going to go off on like a 10-minute tangent.
Hold on. No, we're going to go into a quick 2-minute tangent. She had messaged me while we were...
No, I added you.
So she slid into your DM.
No, okay. I'm sorry. She added me while we were still together, and I messaged her, and I said, hey, do I know you? And she's like, oh, I don't know. You look really familiar.
We had like 50 mutual friends.
Yeah, we had like 50 She's like, you look really familiar. I just thought I'd add you. And I just left it on red. I never messaged her back.
Which, and I mean, I saw your guys' pictures together. I wasn't adding him to like be a homewrecker. It was just, we had so many people in comment and like John, Gianna, all of them. I was like, I swear I know this guy. So I just added him and I was like, whatever. And then we literally didn't talk for like 6 or 8 months after that.
It was way longer than that.
It was a long time. Because I remember it was right after Jordan and Robbie's wedding. I didn't know any of them, but I remember looking at the pictures.
So we were broken up right before their wedding and gotten back together like literally right before their wedding because we weren't walking together at their wedding originally.
Okay.
I was walking with Jarrett and he was walking with Laura. And then
it was fucking awkward.
We got back together and they like switched everything, like made it to where.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to.
But anyways, okay.
But yeah, so like
it made it awkward for you because
it was just really hard because I mean I was 20 years old taking on all of this, and it in the beginning it wasn't super serious, but even my dad was in his situation back in the day, so like he even told me, he's like, Sierra, once there's a kid involved, like you're either all in or you don't get involved.
That
because
is the damn truth.
That's like if you're not willing to take all that on, like don't even do that to you or to him.
I'm not gonna bring it up.
Uh-oh.
Do I want to know?
No, you don't.
Okay.
But so yeah, I mean it was hard because I mean technically it was like with him having a kid, it wasn't just him and a kid, it was a baby mama, and like whether they were on a good path or whatever, that could have brought a lot of tension and a lot of extra issues to a new relationship. Mm-hmm. And I was 20 years old, so like me dealing with all of that, it was either, okay, do I really want to get into all of this? And like, because once I get into that, I'm in all of it, you know? And
There's not really like a separation.
Yeah, it's like you're there for all of it, you know, and especially how we moved fast because we were together every single day. Like we were just inseparable at that point. So, you know, the hard days, the easy days, the days where you guys had your arguments and stuff, because I think when we first got together, you guys were broken up, but you had still had the business. So, I mean, there were still phone arguments or whatever else. And, we
were already dealing with the separation of the business.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a process, you know, and no, you were nice from the start, which made that so much better because of all of the people I hear that are my age. Like, to me, there was maybe not talking to him about it, but I mean, there was definitely some days where I knew you didn't like me.
There was only one time that I remember that I was like, oh, fuck.
But I mean, when me and you...
Is that recently or back then?
No. Back then at the TR house, I was super sick one day, and I had Everly, and she was at the house, and I had called you, and I was like, hey, I'm just like throwing up. Can you please come get Everly? Like, I literally can't move to take care of her. She was taking care of me. And then you came to the house, and you're like, what the fuck? You can have your girlfriend over, but
oh, yeah.
You can't take care of Ev. And I was like, I'm fucking sorry. Like,
well, and then he was like, I don't want you to meet her in like this type of like scenario when she's like pissed off and whatever. So I was like, all right, whatever.
Well, I think because...
Which I respect, by the
Robert
way.
didn't tell me you were going to be there.
Oh, gotcha.
I had no idea Sierra was even there. All I knew was he was so sick and he couldn't even get out of bed and he couldn't do this, he couldn't do that. I had to come get Everly right now. And I was in the middle of doing something. I was either out somewhere or I had made plans. So I canceled the plans and I got there and I saw your car and I was like, this motherfucker. I was like, it's on. And I remember banging on that door and I was like, hit the door and he was like,
the man flu kicked in real hard.
Yeah. But dude, it was fucking, like, you gotta remember, that was so hard for me, like, trying to, like, protect your feelings and then protect your feelings, and it was like...
And that's what I was saying, too. Even though you were so nice from the beginning, like, it made it easier, yes, but it was still so hard because, you know, you guys were on a really good, like, relationship of, like, talking, of course, about Everly, and then, like, I think you guys hadn't really, like, not to bring this up, but like set boundaries of like what to talk about and stuff. So for me coming in, I'm like, why is this girl calling you? But then he was like, it's the mother of my child. Yeah. Like, so we had to learn those. I think it also was
probably hard for you to even like, why does she call you so much? Or why does she like, why are you guys talking? Why are you texting? Because that's hard. I mean, it's hard if you've never had the dynamic of, because I grew up with parents that weren't really together, but did everything together. Matt the same way. And so not being in that dynamic and walking into it, you're like, this is sketchy.
It was definitely hard. I mean, because I was young too. Yeah. Any other relationship I was in, they hated their ex, they talked shit about their ex, whatever. And I was like, okay, it makes me feel better. You know, you're not even thinking about them. Yeah. But this, you know, his phone was ringing all the time and like your picture still came up across the thing. So I'd just be sitting in the truck and he'd be talking, you know, like, and that was so hard for me because I was so disconnected that I had Robert and us, but then like, you guys still had your family in my eyes. I was like, okay, there's still like a dynamic, and I never wanted to step between that. I just talked to him. I was like, okay, we got to figure out something to where I'm comfortable and she's comfortable. Yeah. And that was one thing. Cause anytime I would try to like, not set boundaries, but I was just like, okay, you know, you guys are talking about stuff that's not really related to Everly. And I'm sitting here like listening to all of it. Yeah. So I would kind of mention something, but I think it was so hard the position he was in. Like he said, keeping both our feelings in mind because he was like, she's the mother of my child. She's not going anywhere. And I was like, I understand that, but we got to figure out something else. Yeah. Like this, you know, me, I'm like, man, I just took on all of this. Yeah. But I still want to feel like I'm the only woman in your life. You know, it was so hard for me. And then, you know, him trying to see my point when, you know, you guys were having your own struggles or like own conversations. Yeah. I just... Looking back now, I could see the hard situation he was in. But in the beginning, I was like naive to where I'm like, man, why isn't it all about me? You know, we're a fresh new relationship and, you know, your phone's still blowing up and whatever, you know. But at the end of the day, Everly was the most important. And like just having that mutual respect between us, you know, maybe we weren't best friends to begin with or whatever, but we had this like mutual respect even without talking about it, you know. because I know you were in a similar situation right before meeting him, where you were the stepmom. So I think that also helped you a lot.
Yeah.
Trying to cope or deal with this situation, you know?
Sure. I mean, I was very fortunate, you know, Ashley, Maddox's mom, she was amazing. And I would say that a lot of how I've learned, like, how I guess to be with you is from how she treated me. Because she did make me feel like I was important in his life, even if I wasn't the mom. And I had met him when he was probably around Everly's age. I mean, he was probably 2 or 3 when I met him. So I knew what you were going through. Like, I knew exactly, because she'd call John all the time. And it actually ended up at the end of it, her and John were, like, estranged. And me and Ashley would talk about Maddox. Like, we figured out schooling. We figured out all those things because he and Ashley just, you know, weren't on the best terms at the moment. And so, you know, it definitely, like, helped a lot me, you know, going through that, because I did understand exactly how you felt. And I vaguely remember me and Robert having a conversation about the boundaries of the conversations we were having, you know? And I remember, like, thinking back and being like, okay, I remember how I felt in that situation, so I know how she feels. I know exactly how that feels.
And that's so important, because think if she hadn't treated you like that, that probably would have trickled down right into, like, 100%. Our relationship. So even just one good relationship, you know, from that has taught you or showed you how to deal with this, you know, and, like, it's just a ripple effect, you know, of what we're showing Ev of how to have this blended family and dynamic. You know, if she's ever faced with it in the future, she could always relate back to, like, how we dealt with things, you know?
Yeah. And I think that was one of, like, the biggest things is that my parents didn't separate right away. They stayed together for the kids. And I think that is the biggest mistake anyone can make. And I remember looking at Robert and I was like, we're not good together. We can never be good for Everly. Like, this is not, watching her parents cutthroat, constantly yelling at each other, pissed off, not happy, one sleeping on the couch, one sleeping in the room. It's so unhealthy. There's no good that ever comes from staying together for the kids.
Yeah.
All my siblings would agree. Because I watched my parents do it, and I watched them hate each other and fight and be nasty for years. And then when they finally split, great. They can have dinners together. We can do family things together. We can go on family trips. It's great.
Without that extra tension.
Without any of that tension.
Yeah.
You know, that it just...
Which, and we've talked about this too, because, you know, he talked about, like, how toxic it was getting. Like, think if you guys would have waited 3 or 4 more years and then done it, everything that she would have seen.
And that's why, like, I read a book. It was called How to Tell When It's Over, was the name of the book. And I read this book. I'm, like, reading it religiously. It has me do a pros and cons list. I'm, like, journaling. I'm into it. The last line of the book is, if you've bought this book, it's already over.
Damn.
And I was like, deep. I literally read that line. I was like, through the book, I was like, I wasted my time.
All this
journaling. Wasted so much time. But I knew
I'm not a reader, so I would have never got to that point.
Well, I knew at that moment, from all the journaling and all the pros and cons lists, I knew at that moment what my choice had to be.
Yeah.
You know, it really was just digging in me and, like, saying, okay, like, I'm okay with letting this go. I'm okay with, you know, not having this relationship in order for Everly to see what healthy relationships are.
I want to take 2 takeaways from this entire conversation. One of them is don't ever argue in front of your kids.
That's huge.
Well, that's hard to say though, because
we have arguments, but don't ever have like major fucking fights in front of your kids. You guys need to be able to you need to be able to take it and say, hey, we should not be having this argument right now. Our children are in front of us. Can we please let's take 30 minutes, take a breath, separate from each other, and then revisit this in a few minutes because that's what's needed.
Matt will never yell at me ever
I don't
in front
know.
of ever. He never, literally, this man is a saint. Never yells at me.
Trust me,
never freaks out on me. But
don't be time out, bro. You've saved fights between all of us a couple times, and we're gonna get to him in just one second.
When I yell at him, he'll look at me and he'll say, "I don't speak to you like that. You don't need to speak to me like that, especially in front of Everly."
He don't even gotta say something. He just looks at you. You're like,
He gives you the dad look.
The dad look doesn't work on her.
I'm like, bitch, let's go. Want to have a conversation? He's like,
you're not gonna talk?
I'm like following around the house.
The second piece of advice that I want to step on is don't ever talk shit about your ex or the mother of your daughter or anybody to your current partner. That was a big deal for me. I mean, and I think it was a huge deal for you, right?
That was huge because even, in the back of my mind, you want them to hate their ex just so that they don't think about all the feelings and experiences. And I mean, it was intimidating coming in because you guys had been together like 5.5 years. You guys had a kid, a business, all these milestones. And me and him were like baby stages, so it was very intimidating. But even through like your guys' arguments and like you guys deciding things, I would just walk in the other room, whatever. So I'd not expect, I was thinking like, oh man, he's going to come in here and like vent to me or whatever.
Yeah.
He would come in and be like, oh, all right, so when are we going to dinner?
Yeah.
And I would never like egg it on or like ask, but I just like, is everything okay? He would never talk bad about you in front of me. Even the first
that's
few years of our
There's
relationship.
nothing bad to say. I'm great.
But I mean, all those struggles you guys had, that was so important to me.
Did I miss something?
I said there's nothing bad to say. I'm great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not the problem, guys.
Oh, here we go.
Yes, yeah.
1, 2, 3, fight. No. I'm just saying, like, that was important to me because I knew if we were to break up in the future, whatever, he wouldn't just sit around and talk shit about me and spill all my dirty laundry and whatever. And, like, he's like, oh, man, we're just figuring things out, whatever. But he never, like, dragged me into any of the issues or anything. You guys still, and that, I think that's so important for co-parenting, too. Side note, that the parents are still going to have things that they need to figure out, just them two.
Yeah.
And if they want our opinion, they could kind of ask or bring it up or whatever.
Yeah.
But I still think that's so important for their dynamic too.
Which is a bridge we recently went through. We recently went through that moment of disagreements.
Are you talking about the phone conversation that I had to call Matt on? Is that what we're talking about?
No, me and Sierra recently went through, or when we had that text exchange, I don't even remember what it was about at this point. Where me and you were texting each other or I was on the phone with you.
Okay, so we are talking about that time.
And you were upset with me, and you basically some words were exchanged, and we all got.
I was outside barbecuing.
Yeah, we all got.
He has no idea what's going on.
Oh yeah, it was
me and Faith got in an argument. We got very heated
over a car seat. It was over
the car seat because do we want to be like full blown?
We could just be
okay.
Well,
so
I mean, because I thought
there was a it wasn't a car seat, it was a jump seat,
a booster,
like a booster
seat,
yeah,
which I was not okay with.
Yeah,
I disagreed that she should be in a booster seat because she wasn't old enough and she didn't weigh enough, at least to my knowledge.
Yeah,
I disagreed. I did not want her in that, and basically we got in a huge argument. I don't remember exactly how this happened.
Yeah,
but it ended up on speakerphone.
I heard Sierra in the background, and I was like, because to be transparent, even in the best co-parenting situations, there are hard days.
Oh, fuck yeah.
There are days where you're probably going to get in an argument with your counterparts. It's just going to happen. We're human. But I said if Sierra has something to say, put her on the phone.
it was a little more aggressive.
I'm not gonna say
it was definitely more fucking aggressive.
Keep it PG.
It ended in me and Sierra, talking it out by ourselves. It didn't include Robert or Matt. We ended up texting each other about it and kind of going back and forth and worked through, obviously the beginning of the conversation wasn't like, hey, I love you, thank you so much. Like, we're best friends.
Isn't that kind of funny how that happened, though? Because, like, you guys had to, like, figure that out on your own without us being involved. But obviously, like, me and her had a huge conversation about that because
so did we. I mean, 100%.
And then me and Matt also had a huge conversation about that.
Whenever anything happens, he just calls me.
Yeah,
hey,
I just call Matt.
I know
because he's so fucking level-headed. He's so level-headed.
It's my cross to bear.
I call Matt and I'm like, yo, dude, like, my bad, shit, like, went down. I'm sorry.
Well, what I if I can, what I remember saying to you, I was like, you called me. I literally was like sitting in my chair that's next to my grill. Right? Like,
you probably have no idea what happened.
I'm just like scrolling through Pandora, you know what I mean? And I'm like, all right, yeah, this is cool, like, and then you call me and I'm like, hey, what's up? And he goes, hey man, I don't know how else to say this. We kind of just, like, the three of us got an argument. I was like, the three of us? And he's like, I mean, myself, Sierra, and Faith. And I was like,
He's like, thank you for that. I'm going to walk inside to a clusterfuck.
But I remember one thing I said to you, which I think, I mean, not to, like, applaud myself, but one thing I remember saying to you is, look, man, here's the thing. I don't know what happened, and I'm sure that you can understand this. I need to get the story from my wife first.
I do remember you saying that.
So I'm like, let me hang up the phone and put on my suit of armor.
And by the way, I had a ton of respect for you for that because, I mean, it wasn't just like, hey, this is what happened. It was like, yo, dude, like, I got to talk to my wife. And I got to, because obviously I'm on her side no matter what. At the end of the day, you need to be on her side.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
I mean, that's important. And I think,
you need to be behind your wife.
Yeah.
And we hung up the phone and I had so much respect after that. I was like, holy shit, like, good for this man. So you continue, sorry.
Well, I went inside and, we talked. And one of the things that we had kind of come to terms with is it needed to be left alone that night. Yeah. Nothing else could have happened with that situation that night. Mm-hmm. So I said, everybody needs to have time to, think back on what was said and what could have been said differently or what could have been expunged from the conversation. Everybody needs that moment. So one thing that we agreed upon was nothing's going to happen further with this tonight. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that did happen because then the next day you two had exchanged conversation and I think it was just it was a very healthy resolve. And I think if there's like a plot, I would say, to this podcast, it's all about resolve. It's all about how you deal with things, with roadblocks that come up, collectively.
Another thing you had said though is, and you had told me, and I had heard you say it also to Robert, is we can't let one bad moment ruin all of the good work we've done together.
I do remember
as a team. Like, all the good stuff you've done, there's going to be bad moments.
And
there's going to be shitty days.
Yeah, of course. I was just going to say, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, you were still next to him when he called me, right?
Yeah.
No, I was outside.
So it was just you.
Our end was a little bit different.
I could understand that,
because again, I'm playing. It was like a fucking flashback, bro. Like I was playing that role of like trying to keep the feelings mutual. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna let you go ahead and just tell it.
So I just remember sitting on the stairs and like they were having their conversation, but she was obviously on speaker. So I'm like listening to it because I care about speaker, it. By the way.
It's not just like I always talk on speaker.
Yeah, and but they were starting to argue and like twist each other's words around. So I think, and this was my fault for overstepping boundaries on something that they should have just figured out themselves. But I had heard her say something else. I was like, no, you didn't say that. So then he heard that, or I said, oh, you said it like this or something, thinking I was helping the situation. Yeah. But when they're already like agitated, that was probably the wrong thing to do. So that's a fault of my own. And then when I heard her say, oh, if Sierra wants to get in on this, I was like, oh man. So it just like, I saw red and just got pissed off and started yelling. And then immediately after that happened, Robert said, stop. Like, this is not, because right then, you know, this relationship we had these last few years, I just saw it all go up in flames, and I was like, shit, what just happened? I'm pretty
sure I just hung up.
No, you had said, you were like, listen, I think it's best we just continue this conversation tomorrow. And you said pretty much the same thing Matt did, that, you know, this conversation doesn't need to happen. We'll continue this conversation another time or tomorrow or whatever. And so you had hung up, and that's when I was like, pissed.
That's when I walked
We were
into
both
the door.
livid, I think, at that
took
point.
my glasses off.
You weren't mad anymore.
I was pissed. I was outside, but right when
you were apologetic.
Okay, but hold on. As soon as I saw red, I stepped outside and I was like, shit, what did I just do by like blowing up and like adding to that fire? Like, immediately I felt guilt because I was like, this probably just ruined, like what I just did probably just ruined our co-parenting relationship. Yeah. So I was like, fuck, like, you know, I got a little angry and got all hot-headed. And as soon as I walked in, I was like, I know I overstepped. Like, I shouldn't have been in on that, you know, but there's just so many dynamics, overstep. You know?
I think it just, in my mind, I was being told I don't know what's best for Everly. And then it was like, in your mind, you were being helpful. And in his mind, he thought he knew what was best. It was like, everyone was just doing what was best at that moment. It wasn't that you overstepped. It just was something that you were trying to be helpful on.
Yeah, which it was just the wrong timing, though, when you guys were already agitated and, like...
For sure.
You know.
So, basically, thank God for Matt.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The cool cucumber.
Now, unfortunately, we got to backtrack a little bit to when Matt came in the picture. And we got to dig into your life, dude, obviously. Yes. I mean, we got to know what it was like for you. You know what I mean? So you guys met, you came over. What was it like for the first time when you showed up and knew she had a kid?
I got to freaking go back to like what my mindset was. You know, I think I had like so many nerves already because like when she invited, so just a quick like, you know, recap of how we met. We met on Bumble, okay, which I always joke about saying it was the perfect situation for me because I have zero game. So she had to message me first, which I was like,
that's right.
I was like, this is amazing, you know. And I'll say this real quick, and then I'll get back to your question. But the first line she ever sent me was, "What is the cheesiest pickup line that you could come up with?"
No, you fucking didn't.
Swear.
That was the first message that she sent me. So
easy.
Wait,
immediately I'm reading it and I'm like.
But the worst part is it was a Bumble prompt. I didn't even come up on it on my own. Like, it was a prompt.
Okay, so
that I chose.
Time out. I did not know that. Oh my God.
Please tell me you responded with a cheesy pickup line.
I did.
Okay, what was
you
the
bet
pickup
your
line?
ass I did.
What was the pickup line?
Did you fall from heaven? Or did it hurt when you fell from heaven?
That's pretty cheesy.
Yeah, and she was like, "Oh my God, that's terrible." And I was like, "That should win. That's cheesy." What do you mean?
It did win.
Yeah,
I did what you asked.
Did you guys see that video the other day of like that dude recording? And he was like, there's some girl walking by and he's like, "Hey, did you fall from heaven? Or did it hurt when you fall from heaven?" And she's like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, okay, because your face is fucked up." I was like, damn.
At least he didn't hit you with that line.
I was not expecting that to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to get back to your question, there were so many like nerves that were like going in and out of me. You know, like I think it's fair to say that I am more of a homebody, you know, so anytime like I go out somewhere and meet people for the first time, it is difficult for me.
You're not more of.
I am a homebody and a gym body, you know, which is I would prefer my gym to be at home, but that's another conversation. But there were a lot of nerves, and to be quite honest, I wasn't nervous that she had a kid. Did you know she had a kid before you were going over there? I did because she told me that, which is, I mean, I think that's important. You know, like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, he was coming to the house and Everly was there.
Was it one of those things like while you were on your way, it was like, BTW, I have a kid.
No. She told me. We had talked for like probably a week.
Yeah, so she
before we actually like met. we were like exchanging back and forth like Bumble, and then we texted.
She was very upfront as far as like, I think like the main topics that you should tell somebody, and right up front is like, hey, I do have a child. Yep. The father's involved, and blah blah. This is the dynamic, right? So
there's a dad, there's a Sierra, there's a baby.
Right.
Whoa,
she did lay out the dynamic, before I actually met them for the first time.
Cool.
So I wasn't nervous about that, but I think I got more nervous the more involved, our relationship got. So.
Oh, really?
I did. I've never been a ready-made dad before. You know what I mean? The only experience I have with little kids are my nephews, which is great that they're literally the same age as Everly. That's awesome. But that was my only experience, trying to help raise a child.
Right.
And it was very, very hard, I would say. And I don't know, and this is something I've always wanted to talk to you about, is I felt I would definitely say for the first part of our relationship when, we were actually, okay, we're in a relationship and this is what we're going to do. I'm in, she's in. A lot of times it felt like I was always on the outside looking in as far as the parenting went. Because I'm just going to call a spade. When you are the biological parent, for the most, you guys make the decisions, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think it only speaks of how much growth there has been, to give me that role or to give you that role, because that's an important thing. When the biological parent looks at, the extra parent, I guess you could call
bonus
it,
parent.
the bonus parent, I guess you could call it, and they, they have that much trust in you to say, okay, do your thing. We can do this together now.
Yeah.
And I could honestly, that's where we're at now, but nobody's going to be like that when they first meet each other.
Yeah.
No.
So that was probably the hardest part for me, is I always felt like I was on the outside looking in, while still trying to kind of take an authoritative role. You know what I'm saying?
That's a new relationship.
It's hard. It's hard to do. And I never thought it would be that hard. So my question is to you is, how did you deal with that?
It's crazy you put it like that, because that's exactly how I felt, especially seeing, how often they were calling each other and all this stuff. I just felt like an extra. Like I was there to date him, but I wasn't part of the family yet,
Yep.
And like the decision making didn't really come until like a few years down the road when, the first time I like took her by myself, or like I stayed home watching her, and like
I remember that.
When was that?
When you drove her in the car for the first time.
Was that an argument? Well,
I was like, you were just gotten in a car accident. And I was like, Robert, I go, she was just in a car accident. I go, you're letting her in the car with Everly? And she was like, or he was like, yeah, I can't drive her, Faith. I was like, she was just in a car accident, Robert. Like, and I remember I was like, so
what was the car accident?
Pissed. I don't remember which one it was.
But I remember I was like, dude, like, I still hadn't met you. I think
really?
in passing,
you did.
You were at the.
There's no way. You 100%.
If you were in the Shodol house, and I think we had only met at the door. We hadn't had like real conversations. We weren't at all like.
I met you at Tanya and Ryan's the first time.
Yeah. Yep. It was like Thanksgiving.
It was something like that.
Something like that. It was Ryan and Tanya's.
But we weren't nearly at the point of having an actual conversation. It was very like, hi, how are you? And that was that. Like, it was like passing conversation.
Yeah, you needed a chance to develop.
Yeah.
I mean,
but I remember that was like the first time.
That's the whole part of this. Is none of this happens right away. You know what I mean?
No.
This is literally years of work and realization of not only everybody's feelings that are involved, but seriously, I know this might sound cliche or whatever, but it's literally just like a relationship with your partner. We all have the same goal. We all are purely just focused on one thing, and it's what's best for the kid. And we work around that, right?
Yeah.
Like we all work together. There's so many moving parts, but we all work together to do what's best for the kid. And we also, in turn, help each other out in the process of doing that, right? So, like, and I think you brought this up once. It's like, hey, if you guys want to go on vacation with her or without her, either way, it's all good.
Yeah.
Like,
right?
we'll take her when you need, or vice versa.
Well, and I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, even though we have, and I know this is one thing that people did, like, want to know about, we do have a set schedule, obviously. It's week on, week off.
Monday to Monday.
Monday to Monday. And
best thing ever.
Was, you know, what we...
Was that you? Was that your
I don't want to take full credit for
He
that.
did, because
really?
we were doing Sunday to Sunday. He was like, it doesn't make sense. Why don't you have the pickup and drop off at school on Mondays?
Yeah.
So making a whole event.
Yes.
Well, before, and you know what, to be honest with you,
because before it was like, are you coming to my house? He was like, no, you live across town. You come to my house. I'm like, no, like I'm not driving across town. You like,
and then your whole Sunday was planned around this. Yeah.
But anyways, with the schedule, it definitely took a lot of like back and forth of us all trying to figure it out and what was comfortable. And then
I had to pretty much suck it up, to be honest with you. I basically let you control the schedule. I mean, you like I feel
in the beginning, you're saying?
And this is just my perspective. This is how I feel. I feel like I never wanted to be like, yo, this is what it's going to be, like this, and this. It was more so like I kind of let you bring up, like, hey, like, what are you thinking about the schedule? Like, you know, because in the beginning it was like 2 days on, then 3 days off, then like 3 days on, or so. It was like,
well, I think in the beginning it was hard because you'd be like, oh, I have no work for the next 3 days. Can I have Everly?
Yeah.
You know, and so it was like, yeah, I'd take her for 3 days, and then I'd have her for like 2 weeks because you were slammed. And then you'd take her for 6 days, and then I'd have her again for a couple, you know, it was so new. Now, I mean, I remember when we decided to finally cut everything off, we wanted to make it to where her holiday season was great for her, not for us. And so that's why we came up with the whole, at least for Christmas, because that's probably the biggest thing. For Christmas, we did the Christmas Eve to halfway through Christmas Day, and then we switched because it gave like that full amount of time.
Are you laughing at what I think you're laughing at right now?
I'm pretty sure you are.
What?
The Santa paid a visit to your house last week.
By the way, if you guys need a Santa Claus.
No,
he was a great Santa.
Actually, I think you're Santa this year.
Yeah, that is your turn, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know if the costume's
I
going
don't
to
know
fit.
if you can wear the same costume I wore.
Well, okay. We got to touch base on that because we're on the topic, but then we got to go back.
I got you.
So basically, yes. So our Christmas schedule is, so I had her last year. So I had her Christmas Eve, and then Christmas morning we wake up, we do presents, and then she goes to mom's house.
12 o'clock.
And then this year it's the
And then
The
this year
opposite.
it's swapped. Last year I had the great idea to have Matt dress up in a Santa Claus costume.
This took some convincing. Don't think that I was just like, oh, I'm down. She brought it up to me, and I was like,
He was like, no. And I was like, babe,
Really?
he already bought the costume. I said yes.
and I'm like,
He was like,
all right. I was like,
So I had
I
like
remember that.
set up
Straight up said
cameras.
no.
I had like set up cameras all around my house, and the costume.
I don't know if you
came
can,
with, like,
but there's
a
got to be a way that you can, like, you know, put up like the footage for like.
I
10
have the
seconds
footage.
or
I'm gonna send it to you.
whatever.
I remember you were trying to be so quiet too.
I know.
I did. I was.
but
okay,
then
that
he
was so
reached for the
cringy,
present
dude.
and his tattoo showed on his hand right
but
here.
it was too far away.
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
too far
it was
away. You
too-
couldn't see.
yeah,
Plus, it
you
was
couldn't
dark. Like, so basically, we had Santa Claus Matt break into the house and drop off. We had like given you guys all the presents or something like
You
the
left
day before.
him. No, you left,
left him
by
outside the front
Yeah,
door.
you put him.
Oh, we
after
put
you
Everly to
Everly
bed.
sleep.
We
yeah.
went and put him out front, and then
Yeah.
you came and scooped them all up inside the bag and
so
walked inside
we
the house.
roll up and
Fucking
Matt's
tripping
like,
over everything.
Matt's like, I feel like we're breaking and entering right
I
now. He
know.
goes, I really hope the dog isn't out. Like,
Oh, she was freaking out upstairs.
she
I
was
forgot
Yeah,
about
because
that.
I remember, and I was like, text them and like remind them if they didn't think of it, like put the
put
dog
the dog
away.
away.
She was
Dinah
definitely
just
bitching.
like,
Oh yeah.
oh my
Well, I don't know
God.
about.
Dude,
She'd probably recognize you and just start giggling.
somebody breaking in the house in a giant red costume.
I'll tell you what the hardest part about that night was eating the damn cookies. because hold on, because the freaking the mustache and beard combo that I was wearing, I couldn't like make the space in between the mustache and the beard. So I grabbed a cookie, right? And then I tried to eat it, and I was like, shit, this isn't working.
So he pulls it down.
So I pull the beard out, and then I go under. And I'm like, that's just going to have to work. and then like, I think you said before, you have to eat the cookies and drink the milk. You have to do that. And I'm like,
I hate milk.
Man. No. And I was like, what kind of milk is it? Like, so I'm drinking it. And again, I did the under thing. So I'm like trying to finish the milk. I put it down, and thinking in my head, I was like, that was a disaster. Santa needs to get his ass out of here. Like, this is over.
Oh my God. That was fucking awesome. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Wait, really? I got to do that this year?
Yeah.
Hey, we can't let Bev watch that part. Because she's
not going to watch this podcast?
Yeah, she'll be done in about 5 seconds.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
She'll
she
be
can't
in the
see
beginning.
that.
She's like, this.
Future Everly at 15 years old. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Anyways, so in the beginning, it was a struggle for you, feeling like an outsider coming in.
Well, I was like, this is a little bit more aggressive than it actually was, but I was like I threw myself into a role, and it's really hard to like collect yourself and say like, oh, automatically, like I'm ready for this.
Yeah.
Because I still had to grow in that role too. I made it up in my mind, but I still had to work through things that I was never used to working through.
I mean,
Right.
I definitely think you asking, Tommy and your dad and Papa,
Absolutely.
and all of them
Yeah.
for advice, even Anthony. You had asked Anthony even, because Anthony had been, almost every single man in your family is a step-parent as well.
Yeah. And again, I attribute, any amount of success that might come from myself to how I was raised, for the better part of my life. And I'm 30 years old. I think my parents got remarried when I was 9, if I remember correctly. So, the better half of, or the better most part of my life, I've been in a blended family.
Yeah.
And so
you're able to see different perspectives.
Absolutely. And that's why I can empathize with Ev on, I can't speak for when she goes to your guys' house, but when she's at our house, it takes a day or two for her to fall back into, our schedule. But I can empathize with that. I hated going back and forth. It
Really?
sucked.
Yeah.
Now I wasn't as, I don't want to say lucky, but I had to go out of I had to go out of city to see, my dad on every other weekend and summers and stuff like that and holidays.
Oh, wow.
So I'm from San Diego. He lived in Temecula, and it's not a far drive. I mean, depending on what traffic is like, it could be literally just under an hour. So it's not very far, but you know what I mean? Like right after school, on his weekends, right after school on Friday, we would, get in the car and head up to Temecula, and that's just the way it was. And then Sundays, my dad would bring us back. So I don't really know a whole lot of kids that want to spend that much time in a car.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
and that's why this schedule works.
Absolutely. I mean, I am so glad that we have the Monday to Monday that we do have, because not to mention she works, where Everly's going to be, so it's extremely beneficial the way we have it set up. But no, I think more now than ever. I'll just say this. I talked to you about this in your truck before, but I'll say it again here. I had a conversation, with my stepdad some time ago, and, just about parenting in general, because I had asked him, like, how did you deal with fathering us, knowing that I have a father? I have a father that loves me to death. I mean, he loves myself and my brother to death, and that can't ever be something that, somebody should question, because we all love Everly, right? So first and foremost, that should be at the forefront of everything. When arguments come up, when hardships come up, when she gets sick, you know what I mean? It's that should be at the forefront. And so what he was telling me was that, Matt, being a parent, you can't win every battle, because if you do try to win every battle, that's when they get, resentful and stuff like that. So that was a big deal for me, because, I am a strict parent. I'm not going to lie about it. I love her, and I am very loving towards her, but I am a strict parent. That's how I was raised. So it's kind of hard to, I guess take myself out of that. But when he said that to me, and he was like, "You'll thank yourself now if you change your parenting style. You'll thank yourself for it later." And I think it was a struggle for me, coming into that, because even when we first got married, you have to think about it. Everly had only known me for a year.
Yeah,
that's not a lot of time.
Yeah, like a year and. Like
you know what I mean?
Months,
so
because we got married 3 months after you proposed.
Yeah, which is crazy because it was just fucking crazy. We had got engaged, and we did that in Utah, and then we were actually at their house when Matt proposed to Faith.
It's true.
We were there.
It's true.
Yep.
It's a big barbecue.
Yeah, it was a big barbecue,
Yep.
which
it was a barbecue exactly a year to the day when we first met.
Yep.
crazy.
Memorial Day, right?
Memorial Day.
Yeah, Memorial Day. It was a Memorial Day barbecue.
Yep.
They invited us over to the house. We go over there. Did we know? I think
Yeah,
we knew.
Matt
You
told
knew.
you.
Yeah, we knew. We knew.
I
We
told
knew.
you.
We knew. And
I didn't know.
well, obviously.
I thought I was throwing a party. My
And,
favorite.
did you guys catch this? Did you catch what her sister made in a toast?
Oh
Did you
my
guys
gosh,
hear that?
Joy.
No. What?
And she was like, "Dude, so you proposed. Everybody started celebrating. They started handing out the champagne. Remember?"
Yeah.
And Joy's like, "Oh, I'll do a speech." And she was like,
Joy and the speeches.
"Matt, I'm so happy that you're in Faith's life. I couldn't imagine her with anybody else." Death stare to me.
Yeah, she literally looked at Robert.
I was
Oh my
like, I was like,
gosh.
damn, the shade. She's throwing shade.
Oh
But it was
gosh.
super awesome. And then we ended up going to your guys' wedding, which was super cool. Awesome time. You guys had fucking llamas there. Like, that was wild.
People have asked me, like, llamas? Question mark? And I'm like, I don't know, man.
They just showed
I
up.
don't know.
No, they live there, so
Oh,
they're
so they
part
bring
of
'em
the
out.
venue.
Oh.
So they're not
mean, it was
llamas though. They're
Alpacas?
alpacas.
Oh.
They
And
still
s-
spit, right?
Yeah, they spit. But like Everly asked them because when she first got there, they had like took her on the side and only one was out. And so she went and asked. So it's really cool. The guy that actually owns that property painted us a picture while our reception was going on. And
What?
we had no idea.
Oh.
I had no clue. I mean, neither of us did.
Literally at
Not
the
finding
end of
out,
it,
but
we're packing up and he comes out, he goes, "I made this for you." And we have a piece of artwork about
We'll have to
this
show it.
big.
It's pretty rad. I mean,
What?
it's
I've seen
he
videos of
painted
people
for
doing
Is it in your
that.
house?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's hung
we,
up?
we still need to hang it up.
Oh.
but-
I've never seen
I was
it.
like, that's why I
Yeah.
haven't seen it.
But Everly had asked him to bring all the alpacas out. And so he did. He brought them all out just for her.
You know what?
She was the freaking life of both of our weddings.
Oh,
That
man.
kid is the life of any party.
Yeah, that's at least that's her goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's-
So it's super awesome that, we were able to, be able to go to their wedding.
Yeah, I mean, I even remember being at your wedding and like people I've known for 10 years easily were like, "Oh, we didn't think you'd be here." I'm like,
Wow.
"Why?"
Yeah,
Or they
why?
would ask me, "Why are you here?"
Yeah.
And I'm like,
She'd be like, bitch, why are you here?
we
Yeah,
were
and
invited.
I'm like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "Well,
Sorry.
it's like Robert and Sierra's wedding." I'm like,
It's funny because
You
a
know.
lot of people know that we have a good relationship, but then
I think
They
to
saw,
them
they're
that
like,
takes the
"Wait,
dynamic
what?"
like one step further for them
Yeah.
where they're like, "Wait." Because
Yeah.
I get asked even at the school, like obviously Everly's gone to that school for a couple years. And now that I work there, like I'm friends with her teachers that she's had growing up. And they'll ask me like, "Do you guys like go to dinner together?" I'm like,
Hopefully
"Yeah."
we're going to go to dinner
Well,
after this.
Well, one of the big things is Sierra actually drove up to school one day and honked, and I was getting out of my car, and I hopped into Sierra's car, and we drove Everly to Before Care. And then I was like, "Bye, Sierra." We give each other a hug, and then I walk back to class, and one of the teachers, she was like, "Your guys' relationship is like beyond anything I've ever seen before." And she was like, "I don't understand it." And I was like, "I love Sierra. Like, that's Sierra is Everly's mom just as much as I'm Everly's mom." And that was one thing that I think had to be recognized for me right away was Sierra was with Everly just as much as I am. Sometimes more. Sometimes I'm with Everly less because you guys have her extra days and vice versa.
Yep.
And so Everly, I remember the first time Everly had asked Sierra to call her mom, and Sierra had called me and said, hey, like, Everly asked if she can call me mom, but I want to talk to you first.
Respect.
And instantly, I was like, of course. Like, you're her mom just as much as I am. So I can't tell Everly if Everly wants that to be what she calls Sierra. She has that type of connection with her, and I am a true believer that it doesn't matter if you birthed her or if you adopted or whatever it is. The mother role is a role that if you take on that responsibility, it's not something lighthearted.
Yeah.
So if Everly's comfortable enough calling Sierra that or calling Matt dad, it's one of those things where, like, that's not a role taken lightly. And I trust in Sierra beyond, obviously it's taken a while, but beyond anything, I trust Everly's life in Sierra's hands 100%. And, that's just part of the shared responsibility, I guess, of being a mom is, there's going to be hard conversations. And, I think when Everly goes through her womanly,
Oh, fuck. Please avoid that.
That's the thing. Like,
I'm not ready for that.
she may be at your guys' house, and Sierra may have to have that conversation.
Definitely ain't gonna be me. That's
and
for sure.
That's the thing.
It'll be like Bert Kreischer. Like, is it everywhere?
Have you seen that Bert Kreischer special?
Oh
it's
God.
great.
Do you need socks or like what are? No, mom made me a go bag.
What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, not that we didn't know that we had a well above average parenting dynamic with Everly, but I would say it really brought it to a point when we had Everly's like first parent teacher conference because of how much they were saying it about us.
Oh yeah,
and I think
when all four of us went there that one time.
Yeah. I mean,
they were pulling in extra chairs.
It was about playing tag and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Something.
Everly
Anyways,
getting hit.
But we all took every single one of us took a turn to, voice a concern or say this or say that. And nobody was talking over each other or anything like that. And everybody in that room, there was like two staff members or three.
There's three.
There was my boss.
Yeah. Her current boss.
My current boss was in the room. And then Everly's teacher at the time.
Oh, so two.
Yeah.
Oh.
But
and her
sorry,
aide.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It was just them two. The other person is my boss's aide, but she was only in there.
So there was three people in there.
She was in there momentarily in the beginning to
Yeah. Okay.
No, but just the fact that they were commenting and applauding, the stuff that we bring to the table for Everly, I was like, oh shit, that's all right. I was like, oh, that's okay. Because at least to me, I never really think, what somebody else could comment, from the actual outside looking in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because we're all focused on, the task at hand, if you will. You know what I'm saying? So it was very, very, at least for me, very encouraging to hear that. Because it's like, we're doing something right, at least.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I felt about it. And it really, really encouraged me. So that's what I was going to say.
Crazy because, when people ask us about it, this is one of the main topics. They're like, how do you guys, or whenever they hear that, our daughter, and then they ask more and it's like, oh, it's actually my stepdaughter, Yeah. And they're just like, oh, first question they ask, are you and the mom good? And I'm just like, yeah we're great. Like, whatever. Yeah. I think it's so foreign to people having a good co-parenting relationship, which is so sad because, like, even girls my age, like, they're getting spit on when they switch kids. They're getting, like, dragged in a court, and, like, it's just so toxic. Everyone hates each other, and, like, the kids feel all of that. And it's just crazy to me. Like, yeah, we have a probably above average, like you said, co-parenting relationship.
I would say so, yeah, for sure.
But even then, it's so foreign to people. Mm-hmm. It just, that's why I'm like, I love telling people about it because I'm like, oh yeah, we're, I'll give them like a very small summary, like, oh yeah, when they have this, we just figure it out. Like, Everly's the most important. And then people are just like, oh, okay. And that's why I think this is so important too, because so many people could learn or use us as an example, you know, for their lives. And
this is the whole reason we're doing this, man.
Yeah.
The whole reason is all four of us get not blown up, but all four of us consistently get asked how we do this. And I mean, plain and simple, it's about the kid, and we all have made an agreement to put our own differences aside.
Right, because it doesn't just happen. You still have, it's like
Right.
it's a marriage.
Right.
You have to put so much work, and you know you're going to get what you put into it.
Yep,
like
absolutely.
everything else.
But and so like trying to get people to where we are, I know is definitely going to be a battle. But if we could do it, it's obviously possible for other people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
And it's like for anybody that's going through, you know, a recent breakup that children are involved, or anybody that, you know, is new into the co-parenting thing, you know, of blending households, I think we should all maybe like just drop a piece of advice, maybe just like one small piece of advice that we could give to somebody of like, hey, you know, if you're new to this, or if you're dealing with this struggle that of, you know, the parents aren't getting along, or we can't make a decision on schedule, you know, I want this schedule, they want that schedule, whatever it is, I think we should just try and, you know, drop a piece of advice and tell them like, hey.
Okay.
So.
do you want to start?
Yeah.
I just had this whole.
Okay.
Well, I can
No,
start.
no,
All right. Someone start.
So I would say, I mean, the biggest piece of advice is, you know, separating yourself from what's most important, which is the kids. Because there's definitely times where we'll have conversations, and your emotions get the best of you. But like you said, scheduling, or, you know, trying to figure out, you know, fresh out of a breakup, you know, keeping what's most important, which is the kids first, will change so much, because you'll start getting in this mindset of like, okay, like, yeah, this is hard for me, or it hurts my feelings, or I'm not ready for this step, but you have to remember, you know, what the kids need first is what's most important. And that's honestly how you have to keep it in order for it to keep going good.
Yeah.
I think honestly the biggest thing for me was communication. I think communication plays a huge role in everything, and being able to be open about that communication between all of us. Like, we have a group chat that's called Parental Figures.
Yeah.
And we talk about everything that's related to the child. Period.
I mean, I know I've been at like my dad's house. She's been in the pool, and I take a picture, put it on the thread. I mean, all of us do that.
Yeah. So I think communication is a huge thing, and you got to make it about the end goal.
Yeah.
Your feelings about, I don't like my partner's new boyfriend. Who gives a fuck? It's not your boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not
I think
for
it's
you.
small steps.
Yeah.
Start out with the littlest thing. Like, it doesn't have to be, I'm going to become Sierra's best friend. The very first day we meet, we're going to text every day. It's going to be a great relationship.
You also got to look for the positives, right? Because, and I think I explained this analogy in another conversation we had. It's like getting your car washed, right? Dude, tell me you guys don't do this. You probably wash your car. Do you guys wash your cars, or do you have somebody else come do it?
No, we go wash.
Yeah, I go wash my truck.
Okay, well,
We're the petty folk.
no, stop. Have you guys ever had anybody wash a car for you?
Yeah.
Okay, so as soon as you're done getting your car washed, tell me you don't go out and look at it and you're like,
everybody
all right,
does that, dude.
All right, right. You're looking for shit that they missed. You're looking for all the stuff that's wrong with it.
Yeah.
Damn, dude, my car looks good, right?
Yeah.
So in any situation, 99% of people are going to go into a situation and look at it like, okay, what's wrong with this? Or look at a person and try and find their faults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to find the positives.
It's honestly, I think that's part of human nature, and it's hard to get away from that.
Yeah.
Right.
But
in this situation, you have to.
Yeah.
Dude, like, I mean, it was
100%.
as a father of a daughter, it was so fucking hard for me to be like, dude, there's another man in my daughter's life. Like, what the fuck?
And if I can just say this really quick, I remember I'll be brief, but it was the first time that she had gone to work and I said that I would watch Everly for the day. So I was like, I have no idea what's on this side of town. I didn't grow up on this side of town. So I went back to the Silverado Ranch area and I took Everly bowling at South Point. Well, I sent you a picture of Everly bowling. He was like, yeah, if you guys are bored, you guys could come over and we can go get some ice cream. And if you're not busy, maybe, and he was joking, but he's like, maybe you can help me load some stuff into this trailer, you know? And I was like, all right. And he goes, wait, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, you know? And I think that was the beginning, at least for me.
Yep.
That was the beginning of like, you know what? Sometimes you need to take yourself out of your own comfort level, because was I 100% comfortable with, you know, going to the house, and not that I have a problem helping with stuff, but you know, I don't know you, or I didn't know you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So sometimes
you knew who I was. You knew me. You
yes,
just don't.
I had met you before.
Right. You didn't know me.
But I'm literally taking your daughter to your house and, you know, and giving you a hand. And sometimes I think that was very instrumental in our relationship as well.
It was hard for me too.
I'm sure. I mean, it was.
That was.
I would be lying if I said I wasn't uncomfortable geting out of my truck to go knock on a door and be like, hey, you know, like
the hardest part for me was you putting her back in the truck.
I could
just
see
like
that.
seeing that symbol.
That was so fucking hard for me.
I could see that.
And dude, it's like oftentimes I forget these things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm so focused on the future and the present.
As we were talking about it, I
so
forgot
many
about it
things.
until, huh?
What?
He forgets so many things.
Yeah, it's okay.
But anyways, I just wanted to share that, and because, you know, to your original question, what type of advice, you know, sometimes even like right now, dude, like I was not comfortable with coming in here for this podcast, but you know, thankfully for my wife, you know, it's good to get out of your comfort zones when there's a bigger picture, you know, to work towards.
Is this what you thought it was going to be? Or
it's better than what I thought it was going to be.
Thought we were going to be throwing shade everywhere.
No, I didn't know. I didn't think it was going to be that. I was just nervous.
Dude.
You know what I mean?
And dude, I totally get it, but this is all for the greater good. You know, not only did we all have an amazing conversation, I think was awesome, but hopefully we were able to shed some light on some very tough discussions that a lot of people deal with.
Absolutely.
And you have a piece of advice left, but did we go over those discussions? There was some topic.
I know one was like
our hardest challenges, which we like kind of talked
yeah,
about.
I think throughout the entire
we're good
conversation,
on
I think
that,
we
yeah.
hit,
Yeah.
you know, pretty much.
Yeah, and I mean, we could probably do like 15 episodes all about the
Yeah.
different
Oh,
things
man,
of
guys.
parenting.
Well,
There's just so much. You
Yeah.
can't do it all in one
There was
episode.
also
you know?
holidays and birthdays, though. Holidays, we went over Christmas. Thanksgiving is the
just-
same. Birthdays, we fucking celebrate together. We
That-
throw one big
yeah.
party,
Yep.
and if we go out of town, like Everly last year wanted to go to Disneyland, we all go to Disneyland. That's what she wants to
We
do.
did.
It's not about what we want to do.
100%.
It's about what she wants to do. If she wants to throw a party at my house, we throw a party at my house. If she wants to throw a party at their house, we throw a party at their house. If she wants to go to SeaWorld, which I think she does,
I'm down.
we're fucking going to SeaWorld. You know?
That was
so,
probably me and Matt
Um,
in her ear.
I know, and I was like, hey, yo,
We're
yo.
like,
Go
SeaWorld.
SeaWorld!
for parents that are trying to argue about what to do for holidays or birthdays, talk to your child, see what they want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if they want to spend Christmas over at Dad's house, suck it up and go to Dad's house.
And that's what I had said. So Everly,
Dude, that phone call that
we
you
had
called me the
her
other day.
for Thanksgiving this year. We do every other Thanksgiving, and then whoever gets the Thanksgiving also gets the Christmas. It's like, so the holidays are all together.
You
But
clumped the holidays in one. essentially.
Everly had gotten very upset because she was FaceTiming Robert, and obviously, you know,
You gotta take a pee break again.
I do have to pee, but I can hold it, I think. She got upset because she wanted to be with Riley and Reagan. And
Which are her friends.
yeah, those are her friends and out at Dumont. And so I had called Robert and I said, hey, I think, you know, and it kind of played into a little bit with Sierra as well. Because she was like, I've had this tradition since I was little. And so,
you know, instead of well, I want to propose something though.
So I initially had told Robert, I called him, I said, hey, I think it's best that, you know, for Thanksgiving, you know, if Everly wants to continue going to the dunes with you guys, that be something that she does, because Sierra has had this tradition her whole life, you know, and Everly clearly loves going to Dumont.
She clearly enjoys the tradition.
Yeah. You know so I said, I was like, you know, I think it's best that for Everly, because not what we want, not what they want, for Everly, that she continues to, for Thanksgiving, go with you guys for Thanksgiving. We can do Thanksgiving the week before. We could do it the week after. Yeah. But for her making those memories, that's what's important.
Or
and so
you guys could just drive out and do Thanksgiving with us.
I hate Dumont.
I know, but dude,
with a passion.
Listen to me. I know you hate Dumont, but
that was one of our biggest fights. We go to the dunes and be like, I don't even want to be here. I don't even like this place. Okay, and he's like, just get in the razor. I'm like, I don't want to go.
Just listen. Okay, just hear me out. It's not, you don't got to go to the dunes. You don't got to do all this shit, but at least come out. We could all do dinner as a family or whatever it is. You guys could stay the night in our trailer or not. You guys could drive home. It's a 2-hour drive, whatever you want. But at least Everly gets to spend Thanksgiving with all of her parents.
We'll see.
I mean, sure. But it could be a discussion for next year when we get closer, whatever it is. But at least the proposal is there. Yeah. So, was there anything else that you guys want to go over? I think we covered a lot of it.
Yeah. For sure.
I have a piece of advice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sierra's advice.
Don't leave me out of this.
Oh, my bad, baby.
I know we're going long, but.
My bad.
Like.
I'm so in the fucking doghouse.
No. Being a step parent was probably one of the hardest roles I ever took on, you know,
100%.
And it's such a hard gray area because you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yes.
Learning your boundaries, learning how to be respectful for everyone in the situation. And then, like, you still got to remember you're human underneath. So there's days where you get frustrated. There's hard days. There's days where you got to just handle shit. And then, you know, at the end of the day, you're not getting a pat on the back and like, oh my God, you're a hero. You know, like there's days where you just got to suck it up and do it. Mm-hmm. And they may be tough. They may be fun. They may be all these things. But it is one of the most like rewarding. Oh my God. Rewarding things ever. I can't do this.
Where's the tissues?
I'm not soft.
First I do this.
But
I'm soft.
This.
Yeah.
I'm soft.
But it's just like no matter what, I even told him in the beginning, because he was like, you knew what you were getting into. Like,
you don't.
There's
but that's
no.
You know what I mean? Like,
I didn't mean it like you knew what you were getting into.
I
understand.
I meant you knew I have a child.
I think with each year, there's new.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Every year.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I wasn't saying in a bad way. I'm just saying, like, I loved kids. I would babysit all my cousins. I wanted to be like the mom, the teacher, the everything.
So you did know.
But stop. There was days where I was like, it is so different being that like Disney parent and like babysitting than it is living with a kid every single day and having to be the person like, okay, you got to get up, you got to get dressed, you got to like constantly telling them what to do because you're not just there for the fun. You're there to everything.
Parent. Yeah.
But you do such a good job.
It's been a learning curve, you know?
Absolutely.
So I think the one piece of advice for like someone either getting involved with someone with a kid or like becoming a step parent or trying to be a better step parent, like just figure out what works, continue to do it.
Yes. Consistency.
Figure out what doesn't work and don't do it. Yeah. And then just having that mutual respect for all the parents in the situation and the kid. Because, I mean, there's days where I get frustrated. I'm just like, I just need 5 minutes. Because otherwise, I'm just going to take it out on everyone, including the kid, which, you know, they're just a kid. They're bouncing on you, being in your face, everything. And maybe you just need to step away for 5 minutes, you know, and I had to learn so much. I Google things all the time and I listen to podcasts and I'm like, okay, if they're doing this problem, like what's a different way I can approach this? Because whatever I'm doing now is not working.
Yeah.
And
I hear that.
you know, to someone being in that position, like either you take it on and you try to do the best absolute job you can and educate yourself on it, or don't get involved if you're not trying to be in that role and be serious.
Yeah.
You know?
I just want to applaud both of you and thank both of you guys so much, seriously, for coming into her life. You know, as much as we both, I can speak for both of us because, I mean, it's our kid. We both appreciate how much you guys have done as helping raise this beautiful girl who, you know, it's just absolutely amazing. And you guys both do an amazing job. I think we all do an amazing job as co-parenting and communicating with each other, and it's just absolutely amazing. Again, I'm so freaking thankful for all of you guys.
Thank you, man. I mean, I think there's a reason why our dynamic is the way that it is, you know, because we've all bought into it. And I think that's like the initial step that everybody needs to take. You need to buy into it first.
Yeah, you're invested in this.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, I think that's a wrap.
What's your outro? I'm dying to hear it.
My outro?
Yeah. Was that your outro just then?
Oh, no.
That's a wrap. Thanks. Bye, guys. See you later.
Bye from the Bad Beat Podcast.
No. You ready for the outro?
Oh, I'm ready, dude.
Okay, man, I appreciate you guys listening. I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you think this is going to help anybody you know, make sure you share it. That's really all we ask for. These shows cost me a shit ton of money. I'm not asking for any money. I just want you guys to share the show because our mission is to just help people in need. And this is how we decided to do it. I'm very blessed to have these three amazing people on the show with me today. And yeah, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you next time.
That was great.
That's a wrap.
I like that. That was good.